Oh, wow.
Hi, Jem. How are you?
I know that radio studio and I see one. Look at that.
It definitely is one.
Oh, my stomping ground, that is. I've cut my teeth in one of them.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that, too. It's nice to talk to you again.
See, how are you, all right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it really has. When was it?
Yeah, it was, wow. It was like, it was the last release. It was the release before last, so it was more than 3 years. What, 5, 6 years?
Yeah. 13 minutes. Yeah, God, yeah. How you been? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I live in Alaska now, so here we go.
That's cool.
Yeah, we're on a peninsula. It's a little bit more moderate than what you see on TV and stuff. So it's a lot more like Washington or Colorado, something like that. But it's really wonderful here. So
what sent you out there?
Kearney, Alaska. It's on the Kearney Peninsula. Kearney and Soldotna are like the world fishing headquarters of all kinds of fishing for salmon and stuff.
That sounds totally cool.
A lot of nature.
You been sent there for work, or you wanted to go there? Is it where you want to?
I had always wanted to go here, and the job opportunity opened itself up to what I wanted to do. I've done radio for almost 40 years, and I wanted to do radio in a community that appreciated radio.
Fantastic. I wholeheartedly support that. I totally understand. That sounds brilliant.
Well, we already got started, but I'm talking to Jem Godfrey today because we have a new Frost album and some other stuff to talk about. Jem, good morning or afternoon.
Good day.
Good day. So I was very excited when I heard that there's new Frost music. How do you know when it's time for a new Frost album?
I creep up on them, or rather they creep up on me, I think. I basically, over the course of a year or so, I'm always writing. I'm always walking around the house. I'll tap a rhythm out on
Sure.
On a work surface, or there's a piano over there and I might play a bit. So I'm always sort of just putting little things down on my phone, but it's never a finished thing. So it's just a little bit. So, but then I'll think, okay, that's fine. I'll put it away. And then a few months later, I look at my phone and my voice memos and there's like 50 things. And I'll go, oh, I'll have a listen. You go through and think, oh, that was good. Oh, I quite like that. That was interesting. And I think basically what happens is they kind of accrete. It just gathers together, and then sort of there's a sort of gravitational pull of it all together, and then I'll listen to them and think, actually, I've probably got enough. I'm inspired enough to start cementing, filling the gaps in between these bits of music. So they happen when they're ready. I mean, I don't ever sort of sit down and say, right, today I'm going to write a double album.
Now, that's all you, though. This is before you've approached anybody else to help you fill out this dream you have.
Yeah, exactly. So it's because I think the thing of Frost is, we don't have a particularly prolific output, but I think
this is fifth album, so
the fifth album in 20 years. Yeah, I know. So it's we'll gloss over that. I think Frost is only really worth anything when it's got something to say. I think if we just did an album every 2 years, I think we wouldn't be very good. So I think it's when it's ready, and then I have a weird thing with the band now. I think, my Lord, it's going to be a Frost album, so I have to creep up on them in a way, going, well, maybe this is going to be a solo album, maybe this is going to be something else, and then I'll get about 3 months in and go, yeah, this is a Frost album.
It's nice to have that option and to know that, though. You have the knowledge to pick that out of the fruits of your labor and go, that's what this is.
I think so, because unfortunately, I'm a terrible, I've got a real quality control thing. It can't be all right. It's got to be like, oh, this is, the hairs have got to go up on the arms and stuff like that. So they happen when they happen, which is why in the first case, there was like 8 years, and then, there was 3 years. Now, I think the distance between Day and Age and this one is possibly the shortest, I don't know, we've ever done. I don't know. So,
yeah, 2001 to 2004, that's just under 3 years. So
yeah. So I'm not sure. There's nothing left. That's the problem. Is having done a double album, there's absolutely nothing left in the phone. It's like a desert. So I don't know when I'll do the next one.
I saw an interview where you were talking about when this was first coming together that you knew you had about 80 minutes of music. Do you approach things differently as far as the output, the design, because you're going to have to do 2 albums when it's released on vinyl, that kind of thing? I mean, when you have more music like that, do you approach things differently?
Definitely, yeah. Because the thing is, with this one, because I sort of knew it was going to be a double album quite early on. The idea was I really did think of it as old school vinyl. I was thinking I want to make a double album, proper, like out of the blue. Lamb Lies Down, the gatefold thing. And so I treated it as like 4 shorter races rather than one long marathon. So I thought I've got side 1, side 2, side 3, and side 4 to do. I researched what's the kind of best length, optimum length for the best quality of vinyl, and it turns out it's about 20 minutes, 21 minutes, I think. So I thought, okay, so that's my parameters. I've got to write 4 21-minute bits of suites of music, and they can have songs in between them. So that kind of, in a weird way, that helped because it sort of broke it up into more manageable chunks. So I knew that in the first side, for example, the character you have to introduce the character. Then you have to kind of get to know the character and where the character's from. Then side 2 is when it all starts to happen and he's suddenly on this journey. And and it was actually in those terms, it made it much, much easier than kind of improvising your way through a CD where you're not quite sure, if it's a bunch of separate songs. Sometimes I've actually found that harder with Day and Age than I did with this one. This was surprisingly easy, actually.
Because you treat them kind of like chapters in the story.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, and that made it feel less intimidating or scary because you're thinking, well, I've only got to get to that point, then I can have a orange juice, and then we can start the next one, and it actually made it a lot more fun as well. Actually, I've had so much fun doing this album. I think this is probably the most fun I've had doing a Frost record, actually.
So, Life in the Wires, this is a full-blown concept album.
Yes, yeah. I think it's that thing of we've always skirted around it, and actually the truth is we're a prog rock band, and what prog rock bands have to do at some point is a double concept album.
You have to. It's mandatory.
It's in the manual. When you start a prog band, you get sent the manual from the Department of Prog, and you've got to do it. So basically, it was we sort of got around to it. Falling Satellites, the third album, was very nearly one. But there wasn't enough material to really make it work. So this was, if anything, this was I actually had to sort of prune things. I've still got about 10, 15 minutes of stuff that didn't, otherwise it'd be like hours and hours. I thought, well, we'll just have to park that. So some of them could have gone on a bit longer. But I think what I'm really pleased about is that I don't personally feel that there's any filler on this album. I think I tried to make every single track different from every other track, so it kind of felt a bit like a journey because it's sort of, you don't want to have that situation where I'm being controversial here. You get to side 3 of the Lamb, and you start thinking, I wonder if I've got the shopping in. Have I got enough milk? So I kind of, and I love that album. I don't get me wrong, I love
Absolutely.
that album. But I did try to have the sort of idea of I didn't want to have a 6-minute jam where we're all just playing triangles and stuff like that.
And experimenting.
Exactly. You do that live. Don't make people pay for that.
Right. So who else is working with you on this double album?
It's the usual band. It's John Mitchell, Craig Blundell on drums, John's on guitar, and Nathan King on bass and vocals. It's the same band. And it's lovely to have Craig. Craig's back. Craig's back in the band.
Nice to have him back, I'm sure, because he was in and out.
It's fantastic. He went on a bit of a holiday. He had nice to come back with a lovely tan, but now he's ready to get back to work. So it was nice for him because we reconnected. He's so busy with the Steves,
right?
This week,
the Steves,
and everything else. And then I think because he very kindly stepped in to play drums for us on the Day and Age tour that we did, the little UK tour. And, we had such fun, and we are, as I've said before, we're friends first and musicians second, really. We get on so well. I mean, there's the dynamic is, so we might not see each other for 18 months sometimes, but it's, like true friends where you go, hello, and you just carry on exactly where you left off.
It just kind of falls right back into sync.
Yeah. And all the terrible old jokes come straight out immediately, and all that, all the appalling behaviour. And it was just lovely to kind of that dynamic. And at the end of the tour, Craig said, I've really missed this.
That's wonderful.
What are you doing an album? I said, yeah, we are going to be doing one, and of course he was absolutely the first person I called, and he went, yes, I'll absolutely, I would love, and it was lovely. So we got the old unit back together, and it's been brilliant, actually. Really, really good fun.
There's a lot of rock people who say that you have to have conflict in a band to make great albums, whether it be Fleetwood Mac Rumors or a Pink Floyd album or whatever. But I think a lot of great music has been made from joy as well, and the joy of friends creating stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as someone who's heard the album, a trusted ally of the band, he messaged me yesterday or the other day when I sent him a copy of it. I said, "Don't, I haven't sent you this." Anyway, so I sent him, and he emailed me back, and he said a lovely message. He said, what's lovely about this? He says you can just hear how much fun you're having. It just sounds like people going, "I can do whatever I want." Let's, and it's that kind of, there is that sort of freedom. For me, it is my favorite album of the five, and I'm not just saying that because I've just done it. But it kind of just has that sort of million towny kind of joy of
everybody having fun.
Yeah, and they'd be exactly, not taking ourselves too seriously, because obviously, have you heard the music? It's kind of.
I just got it last night. I've only listened to it once, so. We can't,
and also we're gentlemen of a certain age. We can't do the scowling and the. I know at the moment I am wearing all in black, but I don't normally do this, but it's just that thing. We can't do scowling and burning because we're 450 something old dudes. So it's kind of like we always take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, because it's supposed to be fun, isn't it? But we're entertainers.
That's one of the things I've always liked about Frost. You guys are fun.
Yeah, well, again, you've seen us. We can't go on stage looking like we do and sort of give it the full rude ass. We can't. I can't. Jordan can pull that off brilliantly. I can't. So we just have a laugh. We just have a laugh, I think that's the point of it, is because progressive rock. There was always, and certainly with bands like Genesis and stuff, there was always an element of humour in those bands, and England and those fantastic sort of those sort of quirkier English bands. Even Gentle Giant. There is always a little bit of a sort of a glint, a little twinkle.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. XTC and more.
XTC, exactly right. There's the kind of bit where you're sort of almost looking at the camera going, "I know, right?" There's that sort of thing going on, and that's humor's always been a part of prog, I think.
I think it should be. Otherwise, you get too serious with elves and flutes and some of the trappings that are in the old prog music.
Exactly right.
So what do you like off the album? We got a single a couple of weeks ago, Life in the Wire's Part 1, which kind of was an allusion to the fact that this is going to be a concept-y thing. There will be a Part 2.
Yes, there is a Part 2. The thing is, the Part 2 is 15 minutes long, so it doesn't really lend itself. Although actually Single 2, which is coming out this week. I don't know when this is being broadcast in terms of time, but it's September now, start of September, and Single 2 is coming out at the end of this week, called Moral and Consequence, and that's 8 minutes long. So we're already slightly pushing the boundaries. So I can't really call it a single. It's more like a promo track, I suppose. Yes.
Now, in the email, I'm not supposed to talk about any details. Can we talk about when this is coming out now, and how many tracks on it and that kind of thing?
October 18th is coming out. Yeah, it's all there.
14 tracks of Frost goodness.
Yeah, and 86 minutes, I think. 86?
That's a lot of work.
It is, yeah. Well, the thing is, what was lovely about it was I managed to, I did it from January to May this year, basically. So I cancelled all my engagements. I told all my children to go away, and everything. I boarded up the door. And I just spent 5 months just really immersed in it. Because John Mitchell when he does his Lonely Robot albums, he very famously, he has a month. He goes, right, it's the first of the month. By the 30th of the month, we'll have the album finished. I've always been quite inspired by that. And he always does it. He kind of burns through it and comes out with this thing. Me being the way I am, for his month, for me, it's five. Basically. So I just locked and I worked every day, and I just played and I wrote and I set the studio up and I played guitar and I sang and it was snowing outside and I had the fire going. And I live out in the countryside in the UK, and I've got to tell you, I was grieving when it was finished because it was so much fun, so much fun. You suddenly realise how much fun these bands would have had in the 70s and 80s when there was actually money in music. And you could do it for a career. You just think, you lucky guys. It was.
I know, right?
I know. The rest of it, I've got my paper round, which takes ages. I've got to deliver milk. All these different things I've got to do to sort of pay the rent. But yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved every second of it, and I would do it again tomorrow in a heartbeat. if I could afford it.
You began your career in something like this, producing and doing that thing, and you got into producing. How was working with folks like Ronan Keating and even Lulu back in the day? What did you learn on those that helped you create what you create today?
I learnt. Well, I think it's what's lovely about it is not to be embarrassed about the creative process, because I think in the UK there's still a sort of a bit of the British kind of psyche is, I'm terribly sorry. Oh yeah, sorry about that. And actually what was lovely about working in those bands those artists that was signed and there was money and is the fact that you go into a studio and they'd say, we're here to make an album, and that's our job. We're not doing it aspirationally. We've arrived. This is it. I'm the artist. You're the producer. We're making an album, and that's such a weird and lovely thing when you're not sort of doing. And I've obviously we've all had this as musicians, where you spend 20 years with your demo tape, or used to in the 90s. You send it to a record company, they tell you to go away. But when you get sort of break through that to a point where you're doing it for a living, it's the most fantastic sort of feeling of this is what I do. I go and write songs with people, and I always had a little bit of a guilt with it. Because, again, it's the English way, as Pink Floyd saying. But at the same time, it's a lovely, when you're surrounded by people who really are trying to, get this to happen, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. The other thing I learned is that Lulu swears like you wouldn't believe.
That I wouldn't have guessed.
Oh, even I blushed. But she's absolutely lovely. She was absolutely lovely. But yeah. We'll leave it there.
We'll just leave it right there.
I'll leave that hanging in the air for everybody.
So this is your baby. You love it. But is there anything in particular, like one particular song that just hits you in the feels that you just really love?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a couple. I mean, there's a track which is the start of side 2 called Evaporator, which I really like, because that kind of happened. That sort of wrote it. It happened by accident. It was one of those weird songs that I was sitting by the piano and it's Hyperventilate on the first album was another one where basically I just played it on the piano in a thinking, wow, and it kind of wrote itself. Evaporated was another one like that, including the melody and the lyrics, which were sort of half improvised, but they ended up sort of sounding like the words I ended up singing. So that I'm really pleased with that. And I think that's another sort of Frost. And this obviously you're asking me to say why I think I'm brilliant. Which is
no, just what what we all create things. I'm in radio. I create a commercial that I'm particularly proud of, or a break I did on the radio that was live and it was spontaneous, but it was something creative. And I go, that was pretty darn good. So I'm not asking you to pat yourself on the back, but we do create things that we go, that one wasn't too bad.
Well, this is it. And I think that's the thing with the track Evaporator. I'm always trying to do things I haven't done before. And I think that particular track, that was me. I remember thinking Frost hasn't done that before. And I quite like that. It kind of has this strange arrangement. And then John does this brilliant solo in the middle, which is all 3 parts, Steve Vai kind of, really, because this is brilliant. And that was brilliant fun to do. And I think, so there's that. I really like that. Actually, Moral and Consequence is a track I quite like, because that it reminds me a little bit of Black Light Machine in the fact that it's a song of 2 halves. So you've got the vocal bit and then you get this kind of mad instrumental at the end. So I quite like that we managed to do that again in a way, which is quite nice. There's a few. There's a track called Propaganda, which is on the 3rd side, which is this big heavy sort of 6/8 thing. And what I quite like about that is you got this massive heavy riff, but at the end I've managed to do like a little we have milkmen in the UK, these guys who deliver milk.
Sure.
And there's a sort of kind of parody that they all whistle. They go. I managed to get this in at the end of this super heavy track. I've basically got this milkman whistling at the end. So I like the juxtaposition. Again, it's the humor thing. It's a super heavy song, but at the same time, I am sort of, taking the Mickey, as we say, a little bit, sort of going, we're not that band.
Is that why you chose? I mean, you had options when you first formed Frost. You could have done any kind of music. Is that why you do prog? Because you can pretty much do anything you want in a prog song.
I think so. And also, I mean, again, my brother Simon was when I grew up, it's always the way with the older brother. They sort of beat you up until you like the music they like. And actually, my first love was electronic music. I liked OMD and Depeche Mode, and that's what I like, synthesizers and Yazoo and Vince Clarke and those sorts of bands. Visage. Sparks was another band I really loved. But Simon went, no, you will listen to prog. And so it was that kind of thing. And so after half an hour of beating, I did sort of listen to a bit of Genesis and thought, actually, this is great, and I really enjoy it. So because again, it's the keyboard playing thing, and I was always obsessed with synthesizers. So I think a kind of the prog thing in a way was after doing the pop stuff, it was just like sort of coming home in a way, because I was in this weird world where you have to be very super cool.
Sure, right. Everything's hip and now and happening.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just this bloke from South London, I don't, but I can't do that. So prog thing is like my comfort blanket, I think, in some respects. So it was always going to be the thing I would do when I needed a bit of a hug musically, I think.
I listen to music for that same reason. So
Exactly right. It's a great unifier, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Music to me is everything. Music is life. So thank you for making music that makes my life better, because I really enjoy Frost.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. Thank you very much.
I mean, that's a personal thing, but that's also, you're one of the reasons why I created a progressive rock radio station 12 years ago, because I was going to shows here in the United States, a variety of shows that were sold out. People were buying merch and nobody was playing the music. This was before Spotify and stuff. And now we're still here and interviewing you and talking to you about a new album that comes out October 18th. I can't wait.
Well, this is the thing, in the middle of all this technology and everything else, I think exactly as you just said, love of music and passion for it, overrules everything. It wins it all, isn't it? We're still here, and who knows what will be happening in another 12, 15 years technologically, but hopefully we'll still be here making music and talking about music and, and loving music, and that's the human victory, I think.
Well, thank you for helping us with it.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I love your studio.
This is one of several in this building. As modern times dictate, we have to have multiple stations in a building, but...
Of course. No, it's brilliant.
Dude, thank you so much for taking the time today. The album comes out on October the 18th, and we're not supposed to talk about tour yet, but hopefully that comes together somehow, some way.
Yes. I mean, I was talking about this earlier, actually. We are so overdue a trip to the States.
Oh, you have live stuff coming out. I didn't even mention that. You have some live stuff we've been waiting. You do. Don't you have some live stuff coming out?
That's already come out. No, we did a DVD that came out a while back. We did from the Day and Age tour.
Right.
That's out. And we've got something online we did a show in London about 6-7 years ago. Am I missing something?
I don't know. I thought I saw something online that there was finally going to be some old Frost stuff. Really, I don't know. I'll double check my sources.
There's some stuff. The website will reveal all. That's got our sort of compendium of everything, which is frost.life. But I mean, don't do that to me. Oh my God, what have I missed?
One time when I met Porcupine Tree, I had bought some buttons at the merch booth and got in line and met Stephen Wilson and the gang for the first time. And Stephen looks, "Oh, I really like your button." I'm like, "I bought it in the merch booth." He goes, "Funny, I'm the last one to know." So anyway.
Yeah, that's about right. I'm going to get a compliment going, "Why aren't you at rehearsal?" What, really? What now? No, but seriously, we'd love to come back and play the States because we're long overdue. And as I say, our American fan contingent are just so brilliant, and so funny and lovely and friendly and forgiving. It'd be lovely to come back.
And we'd love to have you. Jem, thanks for taking the time today.
My pleasure, sir. It's good to see you.